Hey everyone, welcome back. We are diving into dream destinations today
Oh, fun.
and discovering that paradise isn't always about, well, the place itself,
Mm,
but really how well it fits our lives. And
okay.
to help us unpack that, we're going to follow Catherine's journey as she searches for the perfect Portuguese retirement spot in her Substack, From Dream to Reality.
Oh, I love that Substack.
It's so good.
It's really fascinating how our visions for the future, sometimes bump up against the realities of a
Oh,
place.
absolutely. And she starts her search on this island, Madeira,
Right.
which is known for its eternal springtime.
hmm
And the scenery honestly could make anyone crave a plane ticket.
Yeah, it's easy to see that initial appeal, lush landscapes, ocean views. Her Substack is filled with these descriptions that just make it sound like something out of a storybook.
Right. Like straight out of Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
but with fewer prehistoric threats.
Right.
But then she uncovers this twist. And it makes you realize that these picture-perfect photos don't always tell the whole story.
Yeah, and this is where I think those practical considerations really come into play. She discovers that navigating Madeira, well, it's not for the faint of heart. Literally. Remember those stunning ocean pools we were talking about?
Oh, yeah. The natural pools carved into the volcanic rock.
Yes.
So incredible.
To reach them. Catherine talks about navigating these incredibly steep roads, the kind that would make even the most experienced hiker think twice.
Yeah, it's funny how our idea of a place can be so different from actually experiencing it. I remember one time I was
Hmm.
I was picturing myself on this relaxing stroll, you know, through a vineyard. Sun-drenched grapes, the scent of fresh earth.
Oh, yeah, the
Mm.
picture of idyllic retirement.
Exactly. But then I took a wrong turn,
Mhm.
and suddenly this leisurely stroll turned into like a scramble up a hillside
Yeah.
that felt more like mountain climbing.
Oh, no.
Let's just say I was not dressed for the occasion.
I can only imagine. But in a way, it speaks to that same challenge that Catherine faced in Madeira.
Totally. It's that disconnect between the postcard version of a place
Yeah.
and then the everyday reality
Yeah.
of what it's like to actually live there.
And for Catherine, it really pushed her to ask, like, okay, what does paradise really mean for me? What kind of environment will actually support the retirement lifestyle that I'm envisioning?
And that brings her to a whole other region of Portugal, the mainland.
Yeah.
And this is where things get really interesting. Because it's not about Madeira being bad. It's just about her recognizing that. Her vision of a fulfilling retirement might look different than she first imagined.
It's that aha moment of realizing what truly matters. And in Catherine's Substack, she talks about mainland Portugal having this expansive feeling, like rolling hills, those open roads she loves for her fado sing-alongs.
Oh, with the windows down, feeling the wind in her hair. I love that detail.
Yes, it just sounds so freeing.
It does.
And that sense of spaciousness wasn't just about the landscape either. It went deeper. It connected to her dream of owning a farmhouse,
Okay.
a place with enough land to have a garden, maybe even an olive grove.
Which on a crowded island like Madeira,
Mm-hmm.
not super realistic,
Right.
but on the mainland, suddenly that dream feels attainable.
Exactly. And think about the shift that represents not just physically, but mentally. The space to grow her own food, to explore new passions. It's like there's suddenly room for her dreams to expand as well.
It's true. And I think that's something we can all relate to, even if we're not planning to retire to a Portuguese farmhouse anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling of just wanting space. And not just physical space, but
Yeah?
space in our lives for the things that matter most makes you stop and think. Are we giving ourselves enough space to breathe, to grow, to just pursue the things that bring us joy?
It's a good question. And for Catherine, it was mainland Portugal that really offered that sense of possibility. And it's interesting, she also saw the changing seasons there as a plus, even though Madeira, boasted that eternal spring.
That's right. She talked about how she was really drawn to those natural rhythms, the way that each season just brought something new.
Yeah, and that really resonated with me. It's like choosing a life that's constantly evolving, full of those subtle shifts and surprises that make it an ongoing adventure.
Totally. And I think sometimes those adventures take us down paths that we weren't expecting. Like it's easy to get caught up in the perfect choice. But as we see with Catherine's story, it's more about finding the right fit
Yeah.
for you, for who you are and what you truly want.
Yeah, and she even says that in her Substack, like choosing mainland Portugal. It wasn't about Madeira being bad. It just wasn't the right fit for her.
It reminds me of almost like dating. You might have this image in your mind of the perfect partner, and then you meet someone and you're like, oh, actually, my idea of perfect needs an update.
Exactly. It's about being open to those unexpected connections, those choices that might not have been on your radar at first. Sometimes that path, less traveled, leads to the most fulfilling destination.
Totally. And speaking of paths, where is Catherine on her journey now? Last we checked, she was dreaming of farmhouses and Fado sing-alongs.
Well, she's still got a bit of a wait before the big move. Remember, she started this whole adventure back in 2024 with her Substack, and she's aiming to actually relocate in 2025. So right now, she's in that exciting in-between stage, finalizing plans, maybe packing a box or two.
Probably brushing up on her Portuguese.
I wouldn't be surprised, but it's a great reminder that these big life decisions, they take time. It's not about rushing towards some preconceived notion of paradise, but really about finding that pace that feels sustainable and true to who you are.
Totally. And for Catherine, that pace leads to mainland Portugal, a farmhouse waiting to become her home. It's inspiring to see how she turned a dream into a plan,
It really is.
one carefully considered step at a time.
And for everyone listening, remember, your own version of paradise is out there. It might not look exactly how you pictured it, and the journey might have a few detours along the way.
But those detours
Yeah,
often lead to the best discoveries.
they really do. And who knows, maybe some of us will be inspired to follow along on Catherine's adventure as she shares more of her experiences in her Substack, From Dream to Reality. You can find a link to that in our show notes.
Definitely check it out. And before we go, we want to leave you with a question from Catherine herself, something she poses at the end of her latest post. Think about a time you had to choose between two appealing options. What were the key factors that influenced your decision? How did you balance your dreams with those practical considerations?
Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep diving deep.